This was a piece of video that we meant to play last time, but we were running a little low on time. Obviously, the issue of abortion and abortion rights is shaping up to be a big one this year as the first presidential election post Roe v. Wade gets underway in the general election season. So here is Bill Maher not being helpful at all to the pro-choice movement. He's trying his best, but as we will see here, Bill Maher coming off, as usual, like
this
a
fucking scumbag douchebag.
There you go. That's the debut sound drop.
This fucking scumbag douchebag.
That's a good one. We're gonna get a lot of use out of that.
I didn't know you put that in.
That was a surprise. I wanted to surprise you with that one for this segment. But here he is, scumbag douchebag. In fact, that should be Bill Maher's
we really should take an old Foghorn Leghorn cartoon and overdub it.
Yeah.
Scumbag douchebag.
I resemble that remark. A scumbag douchebag here. Yeah. That should be Bill Maher's permanent sound
this
drop
fucking
for him.
Scumbag douchebag.
Yeah. Here's Bill Maher on abortion. Wow, what a take this was. This stunned the room silent. His fans stunned silent by this take.
Not if you believe it's murder. You know, that's why I don't understand the 15-week thing. Or the Trump's plan is, let's leave it to the states. You mean, so killing babies is okay in some states? Like, I can respect the absolutist position. I really can. I scold the left on when they say, oh, you know what? They just hate women. People who aren't pro-life, pro-choice. They don't hate women. They just made that up. They think it's murder. And it kind of is. I'm just okay with that. I am. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, we won't miss you.
Sorry, we won't miss you.
I would love to see the reverse shot of the audience right
yeah,
now.
I would love to see the audience
like
cam
he
for that.
said it, and they went like this. They went.
Yeah. What? That's so good.
They were all getting ready to do the affirmative clap.
Yeah.
What did he just say?
Wait, what?
I don't think I'm allowed to clap for that.
They all caught it in time too. You didn't get any of the, like the light claps. No, they all froze.
They think it's murder, and it kind of is. I'm just okay with that.
I mean, if I had been in the audience just to be a dick, I would have felt the need to be like, what?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just be very obnoxious in the affirmative. But I love how he follows it up.
It's murder, and it kind of is. I'm just okay with that. I am. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, we won't miss you. That's my position on it. What?
It's quite harsh. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure.
There's 8 billion people in the world. We won't miss you. Bill, under that rationale, you could justify anything. I mean, why would you be against violent crime of any kind? If that's your position, there's 8 billion people in the world. We won't miss you. Too bad.
Well, you know what?
Holy shit.
There is a history of selective policing where part of the rationale is let them kill each other.
Yeah. That is a sort of Malthusian approach, right?
Let them, let them get about the business of dying and cutting down on the surplus population.
Yeah. I mean, wow. The argument is not that there's too many people, and yet, no, the argument can be made that before, for example, brain waves develop, which is 12 weeks into a woman's term, it's not really murder because you can't consider that a sovereign life before it has its own brain waves. Yes, it's a would-be life, but you know, the AMA has said brain waves start at 12 weeks. So before that, there's an argument to be made that, no, this is not murder. Once it becomes murder, that's when, yes, most people are against murder. Most people have a problem with murder, right? Look, there's a logic to it where you could say, does life begin at conception? Some people say, no. I mean, technically, the process of getting life along begins at conception. But it's not an actual sovereign being with sovereign rights until it has a heartbeat, which is what the heartbeat bill is, or it has a brainwave, right? There's some debate there. But the general opinion is not, yeah, it's murder, and we don't care because there's 8 billion people, you won't be missed. Don't be surprised, Bill, if the invites to go stump for candidates don't come. That is not helpful.
Oh, okay, so my view has long been Okay, I don't disagree with his basic premise. I've always thought the argument that it's not a life is sophistry. It's a life at a very early stage of development.
Right.
What you're really arguing when you say that is that it's not a life that has the value of a human life until a certain stage. That's what you're really arguing.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not a sovereign entity. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's a philosophical question. And as such, that is why I am pro-choice, because I don't feel like it is for me to decide for a woman or anybody who's pregnant that philosophically it's a life, so now you have to carry it. Right. I don't feel like it's for the state to weigh in on what is clearly a philosophical matter. I've always felt the argument that it's not murder is philosophically weak. But where me and Bill
Maher... Not murder,
Maher,
or that the being is not a life? I don't think it's
being
murder
is not
unless
a life.
You are committed. A murder is defined as a crime against a sovereign life, right?
Right. Well, I feel like, once you get to that, you're making decisions that are really philosophical, and you're enforcing your philosophical take as law. Right. I feel like the argument that you are not taking a life is very weakly reasoned. I've never bought that. But
murder is specifically a crime, right? I mean, murder is the malicious taking of a life, of a being with rights, whose life is recognized.
You are taking a life. I mean, whether you want to define it by the legal term murder is a semantic question. But are you taking a life? In my opinion, you are. You are taking a life. You are taking a life at a very early stage of development. There are things that an infant does not have that an adult has. So is it not a life? Now, I understand people will say, well, but we're drawing the line at the brain and the heartbeat. Okay. It's a philosophical argument. In the end, it's a philosophical argument. And that's why I say, while I feel it is weakly argued, the idea that it's not a life. And I think a lot of people who are pro-choice know that. But because of what you just saw happen with Bill Maher, now Bill Maher really drove the nail in by displaying his basic misanthropy in his brilliance of, he pulled a Scrooge. Well, let him get about the business of dying and cut down the surplus population, like it was right out of A Christmas Carol. So that really made it impossible, because he's just such a dick, to have the conversation on that level, on a philosophical
this fucking scumbag douchebag.
Exactly. Because he is who he is. He was a very poor vehicle to be making that case. And I do believe there are a lot of people who are pro-choice who probably don't actually believe that it's not taking a life, but they know that as soon as you concede that, as you could see in that clip, a chill went through the room, right? Like, you cannot define it that way, because it's going to be impossible to defend abortion rights if you concede that point. Yes, it is taking a life, but now, again, that's where we split. To me, I say, that's my opinion, and it's not for me to impose that on somebody else. Maher's argument is, and that's a good thing. That's really where he just went into the abyss in that segment.
Right. It's murder, and I'm okay because there's 8 billion people.
There's
won't
too many
be missed.
people anyway.
I mean, you could say that. I mean, you could say, what if there's a bus accident, God forbid, and 30 people die? Well, hey, look, I mean, there's 8 billion. You won't be missed. Wow.
Right. And some people would say that, and they shouldn't have TV shows.
Please clap.